Hi, good morning. This is Gina.
Hey, Gina. We've been waiting for you and
Yeah.
preparing. We've not met. My name's Ann Helmke, and Faith liaison with the city, and so good to meet you. I think in movies, this is called the meet cute. So you're in a car, and we're on screen. I
Uh-huh.
don't know how much cuter this can get, but normally, we've been doing this. I was just telling folks, Gina, we've been doing this since the beginning of COVID. And so
Mm.
we've used the same Zoom address for over 5 years,
Oh, wonderful.
every Thursday except Thanksgiving. And I think the 4th of July last year was on a Thursday. But
Oh,
those are the only
great.
Thursdays we take off. So normally, what happens is that our guest, and Mayor Ron, for example, was on last week. Our guest comes and brings us a briefing on something that's happening in the world. Initially, it was because none of us knew what COVID meant, right? And so the mayor convened this, and it was a way for faith, community, and civic leaders to
Hmm.
learn about COVID, to
Hmm.
work together, all that, right? And
Yeah.
then eventually it has expanded. But we're flipping the tables today. And so I know you've been put on the spot a lot in these last couple of weeks, but we're going to bring a briefing to you. I've asked everybody if they had one opportunity to share with the mayor elect one of the most important things that the mayor needs to know. Um, and they've been spending time writing it in one sentence, and they're going to put it in chat. And then we're going to record those and give those to you. But we're going to have some conversation about those. But so you're going to be hearing from 10%. That's pretty good return. 10% of the leaders in this network, which is about 500. So I'm going to go ahead. I've got mine pre-written, and I'm going to go ahead and put it into chat. But I'm going to go ahead and read it to you. And then if you'd like to respond or whatever, and we're going to hear from some of them as well. But and I say this to anybody new who's moved to San Antonio who wants to get involved civically. I say the exact same thing. As an orientation to all the significant work that is happening in collaborative partnership between the faith, community groups, government entities, businesses, schools, etc., anybody who's willing to work together, I encourage people to watch all the recordings of At the Intersection because you will get a briefing from what's going on in the world and who you need to talk to. So I encourage and invite your staff and you. It's about 10 minutes on each of those. So you get used to the pattern. Anyway, that's what I've left in the chat. And we've got some new ones coming up. And I don't know if you want to respond to mine. That's not a whole lot of response to that. But John says, I'm excited that you will be San Antonio's new mayor, Gina Ortiz Jones. Please hold firm to your conviction that the city budget is a moral document.
Yeah, absolutely. Let me, thanks for the recommendation on the intersection. I'll have to, check those out. Let me just say, I really appreciate this group and the continued space that you all hold for each other, as a way to not only stay connected as people, but, as also a way, I know you all are leaders in your own communities. And so it's nice to be able to always get good information out, which can sometimes be a challenge. So, my own, I'm Catholic. My own church is on the east side, the far east side. Well, I don't know if it's too far. But Santo Niño de Cebu. So, the basic principles of compassion and taking care of the most vulnerable and, show me how you treat the most vulnerable and I will show you your character. Those are things that have been long ingrained in me and things I really try to prioritize anytime I've had the privilege and honor of leading. So, I am thankful to be able to spend some time with you all this morning and look forward to this being a group I can join and learn from on some with some frequency.
Great. The next one comes from the food bank, Mario Obledo. If you don't know him already, you will know him. Congrats, Mayor-elect. We look forward to working with you in the new council. We are at a critical point with our policy work to help our clients fighting hunger and feeding hope. I'm having a little trouble here, Jim. With Medicaid, RE, the budget tax bill in DC, we stand firm and proud to protect the people that struggle to put food on the table, is I guess what's saying there. Looking forward to reconnecting with you soon. You must already know Mario. Who doesn't know Mario, right? Narji says, um, together with focus on housing for disability, also make more areas accessible with expanded via trans services. Jerry says, Bridges to Care offers free mental health training for congregations and organizations so they may help others navigate their mental health concerns. Take a look at NAMI Bridges. That would be also an amazing orientation for your staff to go through in partnership with the city, NAMI, and other partnerships, healthcare, provide 20 plus free hours to any San Antonian in terms of mental health 101, suicide prevention. So we're, trying to nurture a very educated and strong city, right? Peter says, I'm sorry. The COSA faith-based initiative, this that you're with here, provides opportunities to build collaboration and capacity for faith community to provide vital social services. So thank you, Peter, for that affirmation. Patricia Castillo, with the Peace Initiative, domestic violence remains a serious public health issue for women and families. And much has been done and much remains to be done. Please support this work with your leadership. Rachel says, Mayor-elect Ortiz Jones, thank you for your commitment that no public funds will be spent on housing that is not accessible for people with physical limitations who utilize wheelchairs or cannot hear. We've had many at the intersections about that. Jane, from the Area Foundation, for the first time in U.S. history, according to U.S. Census Bureau, we will have more older adults than younger people in 2034. We need more accessible housing. We need to update the Universal Design Ordinance. Are any of these helpful? I hope they are.
These are helpful. Some of these I've like obviously Patricia's really good comment about domestic violence. These are things that have been unfortunately longstanding challenges in our community, and ones that I've committed to making sure that we are doing all that we can. On the housing piece, making sure that we've got thoughtful not only placement of housing, but housing that is accessible to many. I remember being at the deaf forum, and unlike other major cities, we don't have the deaf community doesn't have a large housing for their community in particular that has all the capabilities and accessibility needs. So that I think is something that as a community we need to look at and see if that's how we might do that in the next bond, for example.
Sonia, compassion creates change. Change creates acknowledgement. Acknowledgement creates understanding.
Mm-hmm.
Understanding creates integration. Integration creates movement. Movement creates growth. And growth creates healing, which this city needs and our world.
Mm-hmm.
I told everybody to write one sentence, but she made the most of it. Mashan, I run an organization called Thuggin' for Christ. Would love to hear about your plans on the overpopulation within the jails. We are launching a project to help with that and hoping to work together, dealing with youth ages 18 to 24. Bill, Glenn, small housing projects need to be expanded in all council districts to these little emoji things, permanent supportive housing for those living with mental illness.
Yeah.
Keely, nope, that was just about her AI. Create policy and initiatives for people at the margins. Everyone will be better from justice, peace, and compassionate leadership.
Yeah.
Continue to dialogue on and apply the Charter for Compassion. So I don't know if you know about San Antonio officially being a compassionate city. Mayor Ron can tell you all about it.
I know
Uh,
I'm familiar. I'm familiar.
yeah. Um, Another AI. Thank you.
I
Since
mean,
you,
William Glenn, I think it is. I mean, I appreciate that comment. Yeah, some of these, options, solutions are, we're gonna have to be. It's more about not necessarily scale, but uh, like thoughtful, projects that kind of meet the need and help us to continually, chip away at it versus, some big major projects, right? So
Mhm.
I think there's a number of ways in which we need to move faster and going smaller, but continuously, I think throughout is an important way to consider doing that. So thank you.
Shalonda, congratulations, Mayor-elect. When we invest in young leaders, we're investing in the future of communities. Giving our youth a voice at the table not only builds their confidence in leadership skills, but also brings fresh ideas and perspectives and solutions to the challenges we face. Our
Yeah.
next generation is watching. Let's equip them, engage them, empower them to lead alongside us.
Yeah. 100%. I turnout wasn't great. And in particular, I mean, we just were always challenged, right, at the municipal level. I think 15% is what we got to, and certainly that was better than the first round. But one of the things I look forward to working with the judge on is obviously we work together on elections. Is making sure that we are keeping pace. The other counties have many more VDRs than we do, voter deputy registrars, and so part of this is just making sure that muscle that helps people vote and helps people exercise that civic duty is as strong as it needs to be. So I'll be paying attention to that. And of course, helping young people in particular see the benefits of voting. You know what I mean? People spend time on the things that help them or that they perceive to help them, and so making the connections between their vote, what it means in their community, I think is important, as well as yes, making it physically easier to vote is something I'll focus on.
Mm, mm. Um, and I'm going to add just a wee bit to this next one from Paul. John Courage and his talented staff led District 9 for years with warmth and outreach. Please reach out to him and them to support your new administration. I think the wisdom that goes with that, and you probably already know, is, you know, we get young people here who are going to college for somewhere else, brain drain, right? And we bring them back and we have internships during the summer. So when they graduate from college, they bring all that education back, right? And I think that's what Paul is also talking about. Our, previous leaders that are out there, they bring commitment, they bring wisdom and information. So I think Paul is encouraging you to, you know, don't let that brain drain and keep that wisdom working, right? Emma, congratulations, Mayor-elect Gina. Continue to actively support for Feeding In-House, Church Under the Bridge, and Women's Wellness Center at Crosspoint provides recovery residents for their children. Thank you, Bishop Trevor and Overseer Emma Alexander from True Vine Church. Nargis, stay visible to the greater community. Mayor Nuremberg's public social media statements on critical issues are helpful and calming for people. Ned, access to healthy food is critical to public health. Finding ways to bring nutritious food at affordable prices to food deserts should be on your radar. Absolutely. And Jane, talk to some of the people living on the street as well as those at Haven for Hope to hear what their basic needs are.
Can I
Um,
ask this? These are all really helpful thoughts. And do you all, I guess, do you all kind of have your own commitment to each other in terms of, okay, and now we're going to go share this in our communities? I guess I made that assumption. I hope I'm thinking it's a good assumption. But how does this group kind of, work together after this call, or work in your communities after very helpful calls like this?
so it's all part of the city's faith-based initiative
Hmm.
to intentionally form collaborations
Yeah.
And in that process, over the last 8 years, we've formed over 30 collaborations, and we can get a list of those to you
Right.
around all the most urgent community concerns, from immigration to housing,
Mm.
to learning about redlining, to you just name it. And it was there. As I said earlier, it all started with COVID and the
Yeah.
pandemic because we just didn't know. And
Yeah.
in fact, the very first one that kind of moved from those really important ones around COVID was about domestic violence.
Hmm.
Somebody in the team in this group said, I hear there's a rise in domestic violence due to COVID, which, would make
Yeah, of
sense.
course.
Could we maybe have a briefing on that? And so that's when we started to get into other things and have been doing that for the rest of the 5 years. We have, for example, during COVID, this group helped to raise, collect a $500,000 worth of face masks for COVID. So that's an example of very engaged things that it's done. But also, all of those collaborations mostly were built out of the connections here in
Yeah.
this group.
The
And
on the
then,
domestic violence piece, because
yeah,
that one's kind of near and dear to me. So you had the briefing, and then what came was there something after the briefing?
well, we form meetings. Another example would be when the school shooting happened in
Mm.
Uvalde.
Gotcha.
And that Thursday, like just days later, that
Yeah.
Thursday, it came up in the meeting. Somebody said, well, we need to have a collaboration in terms of violence prevention. And it was formed before the end of the week. And so meetings started to happen,
Yeah.
and efforts, and we have outcomes. Another thing, though, that happens that I think is really important, and I don't even know how we could measure it. We do have numbers, but these recordings then are used by people here, and those who aren't always able to come, right? They watch them later, but then they take them back, like, to their organization or congregation or the team that they work with, and they say, we had a great briefing this morning on redlining. And so instead of having to, schedule somebody to come and talk about redlining, they just go to the recording and show that 10 minutes. And they've then now briefed another 200, however many people. So
Mm.
it's all really about collaboration and civic engagement.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yep. And I'm going to go ahead at 8:39. Jordan told me that you could stay till 8:45, which is when we officially close. And I'm going to go ahead. If somebody wants to raise their hand and wishes to say something, we're also going to give you one of our famous farewells at the end, but you have to just wait for that exciting thing. But any thoughts out there or words that folks want to share with our mayor-elect? They're normally not even remotely this quiet. I just have to tell you that. I guess you're oh, there is another comment. The launching of our city's Love Should Not Hurt domestic violence campaign in March of whatever year that was in the steps of City Hall. Yeah, you should know about that one. And there's some AI notes. Oh, Peter has his hand up.
Thanks for joining us, Mayor-elect Ortiz Jones, Peter Onofre with New Life Christian Center. And first, I want to acknowledge Ann Helmke for being at the helm of this work for the past 5 years. And one of the areas I would say that I personally in our organization has benefited, and I've seen others benefit as well, is access to resources. Of my first meeting, I was introduced to Homeland Security funding for hardening our facilities for our school. And going through that process, applied for the funding, got the funding, and then have also helped others to access those funds. And the
Mhm.
same with the City Office of Sustainability. They provided funding for faith-based
Yeah.
organizations to help with environmental improvements within their organization and outreach. And again, just the collaboration allowed us to provide access, and then also to help those individual nonprofits and
Mm.
faith-based organizations access those funds to be a part of the collaborative work. So just personally, I've seen the benefit of the work we do tangibly through the funding and, of course, the capacity building, which I think is so critical. So look forward to working with you as we continue to develop this work.
Yeah, great. I appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I think there's always a challenge, right, with making sure people know all the resources that are available. So it's great to know that this is a body that is not only convenes this way, but also helps to get push good information out. I think this, in just a couple of minutes, I'll kind of wrap up here. This entity, I think, will be really important. I mean, frankly, we're seeing some tough things in our own community. So the way in which this interfaith, body can be supportive and help also understand how certain parts of our community may be experiencing, frankly, changes in policies differently than others, is important. I think when we are also looking at the impact of some of these cuts in funding that are going to impact the most and are beginning to impact the most vulnerable in our community, whether you're talking about seniors or people on fixed income, people with disabilities, undocumented folks that are documented, that are going through the legal system that are now unfortunately in a limbo. I think this entity will be an important kind of space to help level set and share the information, and to the extent you all are collecting data, but at least like elevating the stories of how people are unfortunately needlessly suffering in our community, and how the city can and the city in concert with the county can help address those things. Unfortunately, the impacts of these resource cuts, both at the state level and at the federal level, are going to be tough for our community. So, I will look to this body to help the city, the entire city, and the city council and the city staff, kind of make sure that we're understanding things that our normal processes might not be collecting information on, but maybe you all are seeing in a different way, and it'll be helpful for us to understand, how we can better serve the entire city. So thank you.
And we're right at 8:44. And I was going to ask you the one thing you wanted to say, which you did, which shows leadership, right? I've also asked people to put their names into the chat, which we're saving for you, and who they're with, and maybe an email. So you're going to have that information as well. There is one thing that should have been in this chat. And when I say this out loud, he's going to go like this to his head. But because you were just talking about resources, if you do not know about sacred.org, the San Antonio, put it like this, Billy, the San Antonio Community Resource Directory, not only do you and your staff need to utilize it, you need to know it. But this is the largest community created, designed, operated direct human service resource in the country. And this model was started here in San Antonio and is being replicated in other areas. It's free and open to the public, but an important resource. At the Intersection is powered by sacred.org. And so Billy is with that organization, and that's where all the recordings reside as well. So
I'd be happy to brief your staff anytime you need.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Appreciate that.
It'll make your job so much easier. So it's 8:45. I want to thank everyone here for being at the Intersection, taking the time today. And Mayor-elect, thank you for saying yes to what we call our city and our community. Everyone in this screen and in their homes, blessed by rain this morning, have also said yes. And they have said yes to this, our city, for years. And you can count on them saying yes for many more years to come. So we're here for you. We're here to support you. And many of us will see you at the Historic Blessing next Wednesday.
Great.
So thank you all. We'll see you next week at the Intersection.
Take care.
You too.
Yeah.